Tobias?
The final round of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe is about to get underway here at the Algarve circuit near Portimao, because the cars are making their way round to the grid, and very shortly we will be in business for the final 50-minute race of the season, with actually the majority of things of importance now decided, because the classes were pretty much resolved either in race one or indeed even before we got to Portimao this weekend. But there is still, of course, the race to consider in itself, and second and third within the individual classes. There is Pro, there is Pro-Am, there is Am, there is Lamborghini Cup, and if you take them in the order of such, it is Loris Spinelli and Max Weering who have come already as champions in Pro, but Amaury Bonduelle is now 10 points ahead of Marzio Moretti and Milan Tikens for second place. In Pro-Am, Massimo Ciglia and Lewis Williamson won that earlier on in the day, but Oscar Lee and Dan Wells are only 2 points ahead of Milan Petelet. In the Am competition, Andrzej Lewandowski is now just out of reach of Gabriel Rindoni, and in the Lamborghini Cup, Gerard van der Horst equally is now out of reach of Luciano Privitello, who retired from the earlier race with a punctured tyre. So, although the championships are resolved, as I say, there is a 50-minute race, a dash, very definitely a mini enduro, but it's flat out all the way through, which will determine some bragging rights. It will also affect second and third and fourth and further down in the different classes, and it gives the teams another opportunity to work towards the optimum setup for tomorrow's world final opening part, because each class will have a race. The Ams and the Lamborghini Cup drivers get one together, Pro and Pro-Am get one together as well, and if you look at the timing screen as the race goes on, you'll see the different colour codes just according to that graphic on the left bottom of the screen, so you know who is in which class. But the race then about to get underway on a much better track surface than it was for race one at 8:25 this morning. Drivers had barely had breakfast before they were sent out onto a damp circuit that dried, but didn't really dry as quickly as people thought it might do, and so it was wet tyres all the way through. The slicks sort of started to work very, very late on, but the car on pole position of Loris Spinelli that started on slicks tumbled down the order, very nearly lost a lap in the opening stint alone, and it was certainly not slick weather, and it didn't dry quickly enough. David Addison trackside. Down on the grid is Marietta Evans.
65 cars this weekend, and very big names on the entry list. This is such a successful grand final weekend.
Yes, of course we are looking to close the season in the best way possible with many cars. Now closing the European Championship and the American one, and then of course looking with interest on the grand final Saturday and Sunday. And we are particularly proud also to have new drivers, Cameron. We have a special wild card with Doriane Pin, with the Iron Dames. We are particularly proud to have this female lineup in the Lamborghini family. They are newcomer, but I have to say that they start also in the best way possible, because Doriane will start from the pole position in this race.
And what has been overall, how do you assess the way in which the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Evo 2 car has performed in its first season? What has been the overall feedback from the drivers and teams?
And the overall feedback is super positive, because we start with 37 cars in the first round, and we are at 44 cars in Europe. We achieve very important numbers in America, arriving at 43 cars on the grid in the United States. That is an impressive and remarkable number from my point of view. So we are super satisfied, and the big news is also that next year in 2023, finally, after the COVID period, we will restart also with the Super Trofeo Asia.
Fantastic news. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Giorgio Sana, racer himself, now the head of motorsport for Lamborghini through Lamborghini Squadra Corsa, and the point that he makes is about the the Asian Championship coming back next year. A really, really positive step, this, because of course with the dramas of travel, and they still affect life, the Asian Championship has announced a calendar for next year, but it's not going to have the usual number of Chinese or Hong Kong style races, but include Australia, and I suspect that it's going to attract people from other nations as well, because no doubt there'll be some GT drivers from Australia that want to incorporate the race at the Bend outside Adelaide and go and take part in that championship as well. So looking very, very strong for next season. The noise in the background was the safety car blasting away from the grid. That will position itself trackside ready to go. And we hope that the safety car won't be needed. We've got through the previous 2 races of the day without interruption. We'll see what pans out in this. Traditionally, we have the American and Asian cars running together, but sadly no Asian championship this year nor last, so it's standalone for Europe and America. Doriane Pin then, first time out in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and Marietta, wow, she's on pole position.
Doriane is the first woman to ever be in pole position for a Super Trofeo race. Doriane, did you expect to get pole on your first weekend?
Well, we work very good since the beginning of the week, and yeah, I learned also the car because it's a new car for me, and for my teammate also Michel. But I think we work quite good, and I'm very happy to achieve that because, I mean, yeah, it was the goal of the weekend. Yeah.
As somebody who knows how to win in Portimao, what does it take to make the perfect lap here?
Well, yeah, it's a difficult track, so I mean, it's technical, but also we have some fast parts. So yeah, it's very good to put together, but yeah, it's we need some more laps to take it. But in the qualifier, we have 20 minutes, so we can manage to put it together.
Thank you. Good luck.
Doriane Pin has already won the Ferrari Challenge this year, the European Ferrari Challenge. That's Michel Gatting, her co-driver, talking to Rahel Frey with her back to us. Rahel Frey, part of the Iron Dames team within Fanatec GT this year. They oh so nearly won the Bronze Cup. It was a mechanical problem in the Ferrari at Barcelona that stopped them. But they did win their class, along with Sarah Bovey, at the Spa 24 Hours, which was an outstanding result. They're on the grid, number 54, which is on the outside of the front row. The Dutch driver Milan Tikens will go first in the car that he shares with Marzio Moretti, both of them part of Lamborghini's Young Driver programme. You see the steering, in quotes, wheel. It's not a total wheel because the top of it's missing. It's more of a controller than a wheel these days, but all the buttons there to affect the brake bias and which gear, which setting, which map you want. There, Brendan Leach, the New Zealander, who has been a very, very, very impressive addition to Lamborghini Super Trofeo this year. Very quick is Brendan Leach, sharing with Gerhard Watzinger. And Brendan, who came out of single-seater racing in New Zealand, has raced in the Asian Lamborghini Super Trofeo series, and this year not only racing Lamborghinis in the One Make Championship, but in Fanatec GT as well in the Endurance Cup. Jean-Luc Dario will go first in number 6, that car starting 4th on the grid. Brendan Leach starting alongside him on the inside of the second row. And then on the 3rd row of the grid, behind the former GT4 racer, will be Emanuele Zonzini to go first, single-seater racer turned GT racer. And there is Emanuele Zonzini, who shares with furniture company Emanuele Colombini, who's raced Porsches as well as Lamborghinis this year. And they've had one Pro-Am win during the course of the season. So they line up 5th on the grid. And 6th, you can just see the black and red and yellow door open of the Pro Champions. Max Weering will go first. Laurie Spinelli shares with him. Though they are the Pro Champions, and 8 outright wins have gone their way this year in the Bonaldi Motorsport entry. Max Weering, the Dutch driver, starts. Last year, he spent much of the year driving solo. Laurie Spinelli was brought in at the end of the season to try to help him win a championship. Didn't quite work, but they've stayed together this year and won the European contest at the Barcelona weekend. That's the race 1 winner, Amaury Bonduel, whose door doesn't want to close, but I think it's done now. He lines up 7th on the grid. He drove really impressively in race 1, had an engine change after qualifying, so the fact that he's only on row 4 here, don't read too much into that, because now that it's a different engine and it's a healthy engine, then that car should be a lot faster. And as you look down on the grid, great shot that of the 2x2 formation. It's a very colourful grid with the Oregon car just about to drop out of shot. The green, the yellow, the purple-nosed car of the new Pro-Am champions. Massimo Giglia to start, Lewis Williamson, the British driver, to take over. And so now the Lamborghini Urus moves away. That will bring the cars round on this formation lap. And 50 minutes with a mandatory pit stop between 20 and 30. Different pit stop times line to line. If you're on your own, it's longer than if you've got a co-driver. 97 seconds, soloists 94 for a double driver entry. And everybody gets away. 1 or 2 a little bit hesitant, but now a chance to get warmth into the Pirelli tyres. And as I say, it is a much different circuit now, with the sun shining, with the road just about bone dry compared to what we had at the start of the day. Number 55, which is Adrian Lewandowski. But let's just check out the grid. Doriane Pin starts on pole position from Milan Tikans, lining up alongside. On the second row of the grid, it is Brendan Leach, and for Vincenzo Sospiri's team, alongside the Leipzig car, Jean-Luc Daria. On the third row, Emanuele Zonzini, also for the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing squad, lines up alongside the pro champions, Max Weering to start with Loris Spinelli. And then on the fourth row, Amaury Bournuel, winner of race 1, and Stéphane Lemeray, hugely experienced Belgian journalist racer, who makes his Super Trofeo debut with CMR, making his debut with the team owner, Charlie Bouchereau, making his debut. Milan Petelet comes next on the grid, alongside Andrei Lewandowski, the new AM champion. Then there is David Serban and Adrian Lewandowski, son of Andrei, just lining up ahead of him. Radek Fomanek, runner-up early on in the day, and a triple winner, I should say, in Pro-Am this year, lines up alongside the Pro-Am champion, Massimo Ciglia, with 5 wins to his name. Gabriel Rendoni has taken 3 wins in his class this year, and he's got Oscar Lee, a winner in Pro-Am for company. Then, Danny Pedrosa, one to watch. We saw him at Imola, we saw him at Misano. He's got Martin Riva alongside. Then the Limers, Cyril and Cedric, on the 10th row of the grid. Row 11, Raffaele Giannoni, and it will be Benjamin Vandenberg, another newcomer for the weekend, ahead of Mikko Escalon, making a welcome return to the championship, and Alessandro Tarabini alongside. Stefan Guerin comes next with Paolo Bilieri alongside him. It's Gregor Machulski and Holger Harmsen, who had a spin in the opening race, lining up ahead of Shota Arkazova, welcome back after a 3-year absence, and Marc Rostin. Benoit Semoulin, now triple winner in the Lamborghini Cup, has Caron Lee alongside him, ahead of Elie Dubely and Gerard van der Horst, the new Lamborghini Cup champion. Then, in number 69, it is Audrius Butkevicius, and alongside him Daniel Waszinski, who missed race 1 ahead of Francois Grimm and Luciano Privitello. Kurt Wagner has Hans Fabry alongside him, and Kumar Prabhakaran has number 77 to round out the grid for company. That is Alfredo Hernandez Ortega, who's raced in Mexican sports car events before coming into European racing this year. So that gives you 42 cars. It is a monster grid which is about to be unleashed then for the final race of the championship season. Not the final race of the weekend though, because the majority of these drivers are going to do the World Finals. But Super Trofeo Europe's closing round is about to get underway now. Then as the cars accelerate up towards the line, the lights will go green now, and they blast away. The run down towards the first corner, and it is going to be Doriane Pin who has the advantage. Then Milan Tikans slots in behind, and then third, Brendan Leach, as the cars accelerate out of turn 1. This ever-tightening right-hander of 1, of 2, and then 3, the hairpin that loops you round. Brendan Leach dives up the inside there for second place, tries to get the red car of the Leipzig team through, but that puts him on the outside line for turn 4, and he can't do it as they make the climb with their look number 6 of Jean-Luc Daria, trying to buy into this battle pack as well. Doriane Pin getting away already, partly helped by the fact there's a massive squabble on for second place, and a lunge up the inside there. Look tries to give Brendan Leach, and it does give Brendan Leach second. Way out wide goes Milan Tikans. He keeps his foot in on the tarmac on the outside, and that gives him the inside line for turn 7. There he is, round the outside goes Leach, just secures the place. So Brendan Leach goes second, down to third, drops Milan Tikans. In fourth place it is Jean-Luc Daria as the cars make the climb over the hill for the first time of asking. Now up through the kink at turn 9, the Craig Jones corner, over the brow, and the start is under investigation, says race director Alain Adam, as the cars drop now through turn 10 and 11. And drama there, that is Luciano Privitello, who is in strife. Luciano Privitello, who was on the outside of the 19th row of the grid. You can see there's bits missing. Oh dear, and there's not only him in strife, there are 2 other cars in the gravel. That's all down at turn 5. One of those looks like being 22, you can see there. So that is as the safety car is deployed. Kurt Wagner, the other one that was off the road, looked like the car of Marc Rostin, and there, spinning his wheels frantically to try to get going, is Libor Dvoracek, Kurt Wagner's car. So as I say, that is going no further. Safety car has been deployed, so having suggested that we might get away unscathed, the safety car called into action, and there is Marc Rostin out of the race, and a lot of front damage done. Marc Rostin surveys it, but there's not much he can do about that. It's done for the day. I'm not sure that helped Mark particularly. But anyway, that car needs to be made good for tomorrow. But the safety car then is deployed on the opening lap of the race then. So this is to neutralise everything whilst that incident zone is cleared. And at the end of the lap, the order will be confirmed. But Doriane Pin, you can see behind the safety car there, leading the way from Brendan Leach and Milan Tikens in second place. And Gregor Mokczulski has picked up damage because he has come into the pit lane at the end of that opening lap. So, Doriane Pin for Iron Dames leads ahead of Brendan Leach, Milan Tikens in third place. And does this tell us who did what to which and to whom? Yes. Oh, that was Mark Rostam making a massive dive up the inside, and either there was a failure or he completely missed his braking point. Luciano Privitello very, very unlucky in all of that to be completely wiped out. Others delayed, and Mark Rostam off the track. But like I say, either there was a failure or he completely missed his braking point. One other car, a long, long way back, Alessandro Tarabin, who there comes into the pit lane also, the Oregon car, and that was badly delayed anyhow, so he possibly got caught up in strife at the first corner and then was delayed by more later in the lap. So that is Alessandro Tarabin into the pits. And who else have we lost out of all of that? As you look at Tarabin's car, which they want to send back out if they can, just depends on the level of damage. So Daniel Waszyński delayed, Privitello we'd accounted for with the damage there. Also number 22, Kurt Wagner. Mark Rostam we know is going no further, and Francois Grimm didn't get into the race at all. So just like in the earlier race, one driver missing. So safety car stays on track just while cars can be removed from the gravel. And in a way, this doesn't really help Doriane Pin very much because it means that she's got less chance of being able to build the lead in her stint, fewer racing laps before she will give the car over to Michel Gatti. There is Doriane Pin behind us. We're riding on board with the safety car. And the Ferrari Challenge champion, 9 victories out of the 14 races. She, as I say, won her class in the Spa 24 Hours. Former kart racer, had a spell in Renault Clios before driving in the Le Mans Cup. A week ago was the FIA Motorsport Games. Well, proof of her progress is that in the first edition of the Motorsport Games back in 2019, she was in the kart slalom. Now, very much a celebrated GT racer. So the cars weave their way over the timing line, trying to maintain the warmth in the rubber and also keep the pressures up, ready for the restart of the race. Now, of course, it's a long lap, nearly 5 kilometres, just over 4.5 kilometres in length. So there are not going to be that many laps before we get to the pit window opening. We're not there yet, don't misunderstand me, but first of all, Mark Rostam's car has got to be retrieved, and so also was Luciano Privitello's car. They've had a pretty horrible day. They retired from the first race late with a puncture and out on the first lap through no fault of Luciano Privitello's. That was Mark Rostam absolutely harpooning him, came careering up the inside. And as I say, either he just completely missed his braking point or there was some sort of failure because he tried to make a move, went to the inside, and into the pit lane also comes Kurt Wagner's car with damage. So that very, very tight hairpin being the undoing. Strange, isn't it? In the greasy conditions earlier on, people survive there. In the dry, they push harder and mayhem breaks out. Alessandro Tarabini's car pushed away, so that's another one we've lost. And for the ACCR Michenek Motorsport team, in now comes Kurt Wagner. So that, I think, is the end as far as Kurt Wagner is concerned. Let's go to the pit lane while we have the safety car. Alessandro Tarabini out of the race. Marietta, what news?
Alessandro, what a pity that your race ended so quickly. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, we had a problem, but we were confident because we saw that the pace was good, so we wanted to keep up and gain lots of position, but that's a shame that happens, and we come back stronger tomorrow for the World Final, and we'll see, yeah.
What do you think you could achieve tomorrow after the experience accumulated today?
The podium is always like they think that we always won, but we push as much as we can. We learn a lot this weekend, and I'll give my maximum tomorrow as well, and we see.
Good luck for tomorrow. Thank you.
Big disappointment for Alessandro Tarabini then, who is like his co-driver Filippo Berto, part of the Lamborghini Young Driver programme. He's come out of the Italian Clio Cup into Super Trofeo at the back end of last year, debuted at Misano in the World Final weekend, and has been in the championship this season. But yeah, he lost a lot of pace on the first lap, and then I can only assume that was at turn 1. Tried to carry on and then got caught up in the turn 5 dramas, and that's what did for the car. But the decision taken to retire it, that's the end of that. So race leaders are on lap 4 right now, and we haven't really, truth be told, had a proper racing lap, a full racing lap, have we? Because the safety car was called for on the first lap, meaning that people had to slow their pace accordingly. There is 78, which is Emanuele Zonzini, second in Pro-Am to Brendan Leach at the moment. The lights are still on atop the safety car. When the lights go out, that's the indication, of course, to the officials, to the drivers, that the race is going to get back underway at the end of that lap, but we are not there yet, I'm afraid to say. We've still got these other cars to be retrieved, so we've got 2 in the pits, a number stranded trackside, and 1 that never got into the race at all. There is Andrzej Lewandowski, who is the AM leader. He's the AM champion yet again. So Andrzej Lewandowski, who has won the Pro-Am Championship over the last 2 years, wins the AM Championship this year. He's also been an AM champion back in 2018 and 2017. Oh, did I mention he'd won it in the World Final as well? He's been a stalwart Lamborghini racer and a very, very competitive AM. He represented Poland within the Motorsport Games back in 2019, and the 11-pole car makes its way downhill. His son, in the meantime, is not that far behind him. He's in 14th place. In fact, it's Lewandowski's 1-2 in the class at the moment. So out of turn 5 they go. And the Portimao circuit, new for Lamborghini Super Trofeo, delivering plenty of action this weekend. Drivers enjoying a new challenge. Not many have raced here before, because it's not somewhere that Super Trofeo has been to. Some will have done Creventic races, for example, or other categories, but not that many, because the majority are very loyal Lamborghini stalwarts. So another lap ticked off as the safety car brings the leaders over the line. We've now done very nearly 10 minutes of the race, as you can see on the clock. The fastest lap, for what it's worth, has been done by Massimo Ciglia, but these are phony fast laps, because they're all being controlled by the safety car. There is Jean-Luc Daria turning through, running in 4th place. Graduate Jean-Luc Daria, Swiss driver who's come as part of Lamborghini's Young Driver programme into the Vincenzo Sospiri team this year, and the safety car will be in this lap, so we'll go back racing this time around. Yellow flags coming out of turn 5 on the climb up the hill, but they'll be withdrawn, and then we can go back racing at the end of the lap. So Doriane Pin will have to really go storming away now to try to build that gap ready for the pit window. And given that she was on pole position and therefore has the good speed, you can imagine that she'd try and stay out for as long as possible before giving way to Michelle Gatting. That's very, very impressive for anybody to jump into a Super Trofeo car and put it on pole position in their first qualifying session. I know they were here testing in the week, the teams, but even so, very, very impressive indeed by Doriane Pin, who tended to do this in Ferrari Challenge. She'd go out, spend a few laps dialing herself in, and then delve deep into the bag of tricks, and out will come a pole position lap. And she did it again yesterday in a very brief 20-minute session. So, safety car will peel in this time. We're going to go back racing this time. And it's been a long safety car period, but the road is now clear. We have playing catch-up. Kurt Wagner, after his pit stop, he has rejoined, but he's not quite caught the queue of cars. He's not that far behind, but he's not quite got there yet. But we will go racing now as the safety car slows coming out of turn 15, makes its way into the pit lane. You'll see the race cars have dropped back. It's now Doriane Pin controlling the pace. There she goes, and she's accelerated now out of turn 15, trying to get the drop on Brendan Leach as they come up towards the line. timing line, the control line, as they blast now down towards turn 1. Doriane Pin leading, Brendan Leach in second place. In third is Milan Tikens, fourth is Jean-Luc Darrier. The race 1 winner, Amaury Bonduel, is only in 8th place there in the gold car, diving down through the first corner. And everybody away then, as through on the inside, 55 is Adrian Lewandowski, trying to work his way through the traffic. Mark Rostat is under investigation for causing the accident that brought out the safety car. There's no penalty that can be applied really in the race other than a financial one afterwards, because he's out of it, but he is being investigated as the leading 4 drop down to turn 5 as 1, and there behind them, look, Stéphane Lemaire coming under attack from Max Wearing, the pro champion. Stéphane Lemaire has driven pretty much everything ever put onto a racetrack, it feels like. He's enormously versatile, Stéphane Lemaire, and keeps at bay Max Wearing right now. The Belgian driver then climbs the hill, comes over the brow, and behind him Max Wearing likewise coming under attack from Emanuele Zonzini as they head once again through the kink, and there to the inside line goes Max Wearing. Oh, so close, getting past Lemaire, but they touch and Lemaire spins through the gravel at turn 10 goes Stéphane Lemaire, and he ain't coming out of there. And you know what's coming next, don't you? Because if that car is stranded, there's going to have to be some sort of yellow flag zone or interruption to remove it, and that's a massive, massive shame, because Stéphane Lemaire was showing really good pace, and the Benelux battle has come to grief. The Dutchman against the Belgian. Max Wearing stuck his nose up the inside. Contact made enough to send Stéphane Lemaire spinning into the gravel, and that's the end of his race. So now the race control team will have a look at that and work out how best to remove the car. If he can get there, so can others. Doriane Pin leads the way by nearly a full second at the end of the first proper racing lap that we've had, ahead of Brendan Leach, and then Milan Tikens in third. Jean-Luc Darrier going through in 4th spot. There is Emanuele Zonzini. So Zonzini 6th and currently 2nd in Pro-Am. Right, there's the move. Max Wearing up the inside. He was never fully alongside. Enough of a brush on the right rear corner to unsettle Stéphane Lemaire. Around he goes, and the gravel beckons. He was a long way off because he cleared all of the runoff tarmac and then into the gravel. So very, very unlucky, Stéphane Lemaire. Tipped out of the race, and there the car sits in the gravel. But as yet, there's no suggestion that there's any need for a full course yellow. There's double yellow flags at that corner, and the race director is keen to try to keep the race going if he can. So double yellow flags. No overtaking will be permitted. There's one yellow, and then into the corner, double waved yellows. Gap comes down just a little bit between the leader and second place, Doriane Pin, Brendan Leach. Milan Tikens still there in third as the snatch vehicle arrives on the scene. In 4th place, Jean-Luc Darrier, and then Max Wearing getting closer to the traffic ahead of him after his elbows out way of gaining places. There he is in the background in the bright yellow-nosed Bonaldi Motorsport car, inching up onto the back of this leading gaggle. So the leaders come now out of turn 15. Brendan Leach running in second place, the Pro-Am leader, along with Gerhard Watzinger, the experienced American driver who's had a victory this year. But Watzinger is quick, he's not as quick as Brendan Leach, but again, Brendan has one task, and that is to try and give that car the best possible chance of Pro-Am honours. Milan Tikens behind runs in Pro. Bouncing wide up the curb coming out of turn 2. Really quick exit of turn 4, a little bit of curb used on exit. Track limits were a big talking point in the American race early on, with the on-the-road winner clocking up enough track limit offences to earn a 5-second penalty, and another one was in the post. There were only one more warning away from another penalty, so the Europeans have been a bit more tidy in their driving, but you could argue that the rain meant that, or the wet road this morning meant they weren't pushing on to the same level, and hence they were being a bit tidier. When it's dry, you can push on and take more liberties, and out wide there goes Doriane Pin, the race leader. So we're about now, 3 minutes away from the pit window opening. Leader goes uphill. And there, the snatch vehicle in the background, now removing Stéphane Lemaire's car. Jean-Luc Darrier edging a little bit nearer to Milan Tikens, who's still stuck behind Brendan Leach, but there the race leader, Doriane Pin, has an advantage, but it's not exactly a big one, is it? So Brendan Leach doing his best to go with her. Number 61, Max Wearing, 10-second penalty at the end of the race for causing a collision. So Max Wearing is the first recipient of a penalty. More will come, I suspect. Track limits and pit stops you can keep an eye on, but number 61 gets a 10-second penalty then for causing a collision as the race leaders come past the pits once again, and Doriane Pin now leading by 11/10 of a second, so the margin has crept up ever so slightly. A look to the inside line there in the traffic, and Max Wearing, there's the confirmation of it. 10-second penalty after the race. Massimo Giglia goes through on the inside there, moves himself up past Martin Rieber. So Massimo Giglia, the Pro-Am champion, goes ahead of Martin Rieber, who only came into the championship with the Brutal Fish racing car at Barcelona last time out, and gets all sideways, catches the slide, does Martin Rieber. Straight off though, that drops him into the clutches of Gabriele Rindoni. Rindoni tucked up behind him as they come over the brow, down to the hairpin at 5. Number 19 there, Cyril Lima, Lamborghini stalwart, powers his way uphill once more to the kink at turn 6. Cyril Lima, whose career in Lamborghinis goes back to 2014, if not earlier. And Massimo Giglia, who came into the championship a couple of years ago out of the Italian Sports Prototype Championship, but revelling in these GT-style cars. We are just under 90 seconds away from the pit window opening. Massimo Giglia wants to be ahead before he gets to that pit window opening. You're on board with Giglia now. Rattles it up the curb. Hard on the brakes. Cyril Lima going nicely then, keeping him at bay as they come through that sort of corkscrew effect, drop down the hill. And through goes Giglia on the inside, and not only that, but as Cyril Lima is forced out wide, so Martin Rieber comes up to have a go as well, and looks to the inside line, gets the undercut coming out of turn 14. Job done very nicely indeed. There are lots of driving standards warning flags as well, but we'll worry about those if they start to translate into further warnings and penalties, because the pit window is just over half a minute from opening. The leader has gone by Doriane Pin now, 1.4 seconds ahead of Brendan Leach. That gap widening all the while now. Milan Tikan still runs third. Brendan Leach, remember, leading in Pro-Am. Andrzej Lewandowski leading in Am. And it is the Benoit and Francois Semoulin car, Benoit at the wheel of it, that leads in the Lamborghini Cup. As you look at the delayed Kurt Wagner car, fastest lap to Doriane Pin now, as Wagner comes over the brow, in danger of losing another lap here, as through the traffic comes Doriane Pin. Now, Stéphane Lemere's car, I think, out of the gravel, it's been able to rejoin. It's lost a good couple of laps, but has got going again, so at least the car is able to continue in the race. Doriane Pin now matching her pace against Stéphane Lemere. As I say, very experienced, very quick driver is Stéphane Lemere. Drops downhill. Race leading car on the inside, and the Iron Dames entry, totally new to the championship this weekend, zaps past another totally new entrant to the championship, the CMR Classic and Modern Racing entry. Charlie Bouchereau's team, and Stéphane Lemere doing the opening stint in this race. Leaders go by then. Doriane Pin comes up now to put a lap on Kurt Wagner, and the lead gap has halved because in the traffic, so Brendan Leach now only 7/10 of a second back. Faster speeds coming over the line. You can see how rapid Doriane Pin is, matched by Jean-Luc Darrier, but it is Doriane Pin who comes out of turn 3 now. Race leader with Brendan Leach behind. The pit window is open, and in has already come Max Wearing to give way to Loris Spinelli, Bronek Formanek to Carol Bash, Oscar Lee for Dan Wells, and Massimo Giglia for Lewis Williamson. So there is Dan Wells getting on board. He and Oscar Lee, very, very rapid in Pro-Am, very unlucky to be involved in an incident at Barcelona that cost them dear in terms of the championship, which of course was sewn up by Lewis Williamson and Massimo Giglia early on in the day. Dan Wells does up the belts. Door is closed and he's good to go. But Doriane Pin looking looking very, very convincing up front, race leader, and the pressure in the sense is going to be on Michel Gatting now to replicate this. Bronek Formanek has given way to Karol Bash, so the Polish driver taking over from the Czech Republic entrant Bronek Formanek. Pit lane very, very busy, even though it's a big pit lane. You can see how cramped it can be. You've got to get on with your neighbour here. And if you're a team running multiple cars, you don't want them all in at once. For Iron Dames, it's only this one that they need to worry about. It's the only one they're operating. And over the timing line goes Doriane Pin now to put another lap in the book then. So through she goes. Race leader drops down towards the turn 3 right-hander. As I say, that road section tightening all the time. So turn 1, small straight. Turn 2 takes you into the hairpin. And Doriane Pin looking oh so mighty up front, as there is the Pro-Am leading Brendan Leach. Emanuele Zonzini second in Pro-Am, and Milan Petelet currently running third in class. Let's go to the pit lane. Dani Pedrosa is with Marietta.
Danny, I believe this was your first race stint since July. How did you find it?
Yes, it was especially difficult at the start because in the first moment, with all the cars together, I struggled to control the space and also to know if the guy in front is understanding what I want to do or the guy behind. So I was very cautious. I lost a few positions, unfortunately. After, it was okay. I could follow the guys in front, but not the best pace, I think, due to the bad start.
And in general, how are you finding your adaptation from 2 wheels to 4 wheels? What do you find more different, more challenging?
For sure, it's very different. Driving the car is very different. Also, the procedure for the start, for the race, how you communicate with the box, and all the rules when safety car and so on. So, yeah, every time it's more common for me, but it still is very new.
Thank you very much.
Dani Pedrosa then, the best rider never to win a MotoGP crown. So most people will tell you, 31 wins, but never a title. Came through the 125 and the 250cc ranks before going into what used to be 500cc, then MotoGP, but runner-up in 07, in 10, in 12, but never the champion. Down the pit lane comes Amaury Bonduelle, the winner of race 1. So that car ready to undertake its mandatory pit stop. And Amaury Bonduelle has to serve a 3-second longer stop than the 2 driver entries because he goes solo. So that car gets it out of the way relatively early. And there, Doriane Pin still leads the way. The gap has stretched up again now to 2.3 seconds over Brendan Leach. Doriane Pin makes the run over the brow of the hill, using all of the road, but not exceeding track limits. Into the pit lane has just come Caron Lee. And over the brow, Doriane Pin's advantage stretching all the time. Michel Gatting gets ready to go. The Iron Dames initiative, headed by Deborah Mayer. And there is the car of Andrei Lewandowski. Now, he has made his mandatory pit stop, so he's fallen back in class. Andrei Lewandowski now 20th overall, but he will get that class lead back, I'm sure, once all the stops have cycled through. He's come back undaunted after a rather serious drama at Misano last year when he had a brake issue and went off the road at very high speed. Over the line, another lap notched up by Doriane Pin. 4 more minutes of the window remain, so staying out for a little bit longer. On the exit of turn 2. Fastest lap of the race now, Loris Spinelli. The car has a penalty, courtesy of the incident that Max Wearing was involved in earlier, but Loris Spinelli now absolutely flying. And has taken over that car that's given Bonaldi the Pro Championship already this year. So there is Doriane Pin coming up to put a lap on the car of Amaury Bonduelle, fresh out of the pits. But again, that will all balance back once the Iron Dames car serves its stop. Gabriel Rindoni coming into the pit lane now as well, number 21. So Doriane Pin, you could argue leaving it late, but equally, of course, having lost effectively 4 or 5 racing laps early on with the safety car, wanting to commit as much of her time allowed to proper racing laps as possible. Through So she turns over the climb down towards turn 10. Just round the back of the paddock, you can see other cars coming into the pit lane. This very popular Algarve circuit, popular for races, popular for testing, giving the Lamborghini World Finals a new home for this year. First time that it has been to the Portuguese circuit. So there, accelerating through on this 14th lap of the race is Doriane Pin. And let's see whether there's going to be time for certainly one more lap. Probably not for two, but one more lap before she needs to think about coming into the pit lane. Others rejoin after the stop, so you've got to be careful of those as you come through turn 1. Doriane Pin's advantage now, 3.9 seconds over Brendan Leach. Very impressive indeed, that. So remember that they were nose to tail on the restart, and she's just been able to pull away, stretch the margin, and she's going to hand that over to Michelle Gatting. Gerhard Watzinger won't match the pace of Brendan Leach. It's going to be probably number 54, Marzio Moretti's car, that we need to be looking for in the second stint. Maybe the charging Loris Spinelli as well, to see whether he can get himself into the mix at all. With that early safety car, again, less time for Max Wearing to lose ground, so Loris Spinelli you can never rule out. Fastest lap of the race has already been done by Loris Spinelli at 1:42.7, whereas Doriane Pin is lapping in the 1:44s here. So that's a stint 1 driver Pin versus a stint 2 driver Spinelli. Right, Max Wearing copped a penalty after that contact, and he can explain himself to Marietta.
Max, this has not been the easiest day for you and Loris, although you both have been pushing really hard.
Yeah, for sure. In the first race we tried something. We drove with slicks, everybody drove on rain tires. It was fun. But unfortunately, it was not the best option. For now, I had to start up from P6, and I lost some positions at the start. But after that, I overtook somebody again. Unfortunately, we got 10 seconds time penalty because of an incident. We have to search out what it is. For me, it was a little bit in the heat of the game. I tried to overtake somebody who was inside. But it is what it is, I understand, and we will try whatever we can do right now.
Obviously, this year you have demonstrated what you both can do in the Super Trofeo title, so you are amongst the favorites for the grand final.
We hope so. We'll try whatever we can in the world final, but there's one thing, in America are also really strong drivers, and we have to beat against them, and we'll do whatever we can, and we will try to win the world finals as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So as you hear from the pro champion, the race leaders in the pits, you can see that is Doriane Pin giving way now to Michelle Gatting. It did look like the car was aiming at one point for the wrong pit box, but that's thankfully not been an issue. Maybe a second's worth of a delay, but not much. Pit window is now closed. As long as you are in before the window closes, that's fine. You don't have to have made the actual driver change. Doriane Pin helps to strap in Michelle Gatting, the Danish driver, and the Iron Dames car ready to go once the team is happy. So Michelle Gatting, touring car racer, sports car racer, GT racer, single-seater racer, very versatile as well, like Doriane Pin, ready to go. Gets the signal, and now accelerates off down the pit lane. Cedric Limer's car ready to go as well. Number 63. The Auto Vitesse entry. So away goes Michelle Gatting, as there Loris Spinelli takes over the race lead. Fantastic! So Loris Spinelli now not only leads, but has to pull out 10 seconds, because that car, remember, penalised with the contact Max Wearing on Stéphane Lammeret. Now Loris Spinelli versus Michelle Gatting. With respect, you put your money on Loris Spinelli to stay ahead, but can he pull away by 10 seconds in 18.5 minutes? We'll find out, won't we? Because this is the task ahead of him now. So a brilliant stint by Loris Spinelli, and there's more drama, because the car that would have been up into second place, Marzio Moretti, has had a spin. So Milan Tikens gives way to Marzio Moretti. He loses it, and around he goes. Rejoins, but badly delayed. Marzio Moretti gets going. So Loris Spinelli who's driving in every race today, because he's doing the American races as well as the European ones, it means that he's barely out of the car, but it also means that he's got bags of experience of what the track is feeling like within an hour virtually of itself. Comes up to turn 12 now. He did the fastest lap of the American race, and it looks like he's going to set the fastest lap of this race as well. He's driving for different teams, but it's the same base car. So Loris Spinelli, multiple champion in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, be it having won races in America or in Europe, has got 17 minutes to go, and we'll see now whether he can build up that gap of 10 seconds, because the penalty will be applied at the end of the race. He's just gone over the line. So through goes Spinelli, and we wait for Doriane Pin's car now with Michel Gatting behind the wheel of it to be 4.3 seconds adrift already. Now, okay, that was an outlap. Spinelli already well up to speed in his stint, but it's quite a margin already. So the pressure is very much on now. Michel Gatting to try to get to within 10 seconds. Doesn't have to catch, doesn't have to win the race, just has to stay within 10 seconds, and then it's job done. So there we have the battle now between Gerhard Watzinger, Stefan Tribodini and Amaury Bonduelle. This is the third, fourth, fifth. Gerhard Watzinger leading Pro-Am, but he's just dropped 2 places outright as he ran wide coming through turn 4, and ahead of him straight away goes Tribodini, then Bonduelle goes by as well. But back on the inside, thinks about lunging Gerhard Watzinger. He needs to stay ahead of Emmanuel Colombini, though, behind him, and then Milan Petelet, because that's the top 3 on the road in the Pro-Am battle. So Bonduelle took a second win of the season earlier on in the day, and he is still chasing now. The incident between Francois Semoulin and Edoardo Liberati is being looked at by the officials. So where there is an incident with contact, they have a look to not so much find a culprit, but more to try and, through, if you like, a portion of blame, improve driving standards. So there you've got the fight for third place now. Stefan Tribodini ahead of Amaury Bonduelle, and that gap has come right down. Bonduelle, the race 1 winner, absolutely charging as they drop down the hill, coming out of turn 14 then. So up towards the completion of the lap now comes the third placed fight. Vincenzo Sospiri Racing's Stefan Tribodini just ahead. Right, quickly, let's dash back down to the pit lane. Marietta is being very busy.
Brandon, that was a very, very strong stint that you put. How did it feel for you?
Sorry, can you repeat that? It's very loud, it's hard to hear.
Your stint, you were very, very strong. How did it feel for you?
Yeah, really good. The Leipzig car was on fire. Really happy. Unfortunately, the girls were so fast, so I couldn't do much about them. So for me, it was more important to think about the long run and giving Gerhard a car in a great spot on track with good tyres. So we've done that. Now let's see what happens.
What do you think your co-driver can do now?
Sorry, repeat that.
How do you think your co-driver can do now?
Yeah, I think for him it's most important that he keeps clean, consistent laps and brings the car home in one piece, and I think we're in a good place.
Fantastic, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Brendan Leach watching on, and a spin for Holger Harmsen there, who has to drive through the gravel to try to recover. There's also a 5-second penalty being given to Edoardo Liberati, Martin Rieber's car, for causing a collision, and that was Loris Spinelli oh so close to making contact then as he swept across the front of Holger Harmsen to take the line for the corner. Spinelli is 5 seconds up the road from Michel Gatting, and with 14 minutes to go should be able to clear the 10 seconds, shouldn't he, by the end? Makes the run now over the timing line once again. Goes through. And so there you have, with a little bit of a twitch under braking, number 61, Loris Spinelli, making the run again up now to turn 3, and looking very, very strong up front. Skims the curve on the exit of turn 4, but this really is the benchmark Lamborghini Super Trofeo racer, and we've had over the years quite a few that have really made a name for themselves in these cars. Dennis Lind a few years back was one, Patrick Kujala a few years back was another, and Loris Spinelli has maintained that reputation. Partly, you could argue, because he's never really been offered anything away from a Lamborghini. He's never been picked up by a rival brand. So he just keeps on being the gun for hire and winning races and titles in Super Trofeo. But he's well regarded, that's for sure, and he's the go-to co-driver these days. So Andrzej Lewandowski is back into the lead of the AM category. Second of the AMs now, Gabriel Rindoni, and there are lots and lots of pit stops under investigation, and one of them is the leader. So the leader and also the Iron Dames, the top two, their pit stops are under investigation. Now, don't forget the leading car's already got a 10-second penalty, but Michel Gatting is being investigated. So also is the Jean-François Bruno Kerongli entry. So also is Chilio Williamson's car. So also is Amaury Bonduel. So also is Gabriel Rindoni. And so also David Serban. There, Gerhard Batzinger versus Andrzej Lewandowski. This is for position. It's 7th on the road. They're in different classes, but Batzinger falling away as now Emmanuel Colombini leads in Pro-Am. Through on the inside goes Lewandowski. Right, the penalties are coming. David Serban, number 18, a 1.329, second penalty at the end of the race. This is all for being short on the pit stop. So if you are under by a tiny amount, then it's a time penalty. Number 21, Gabriel Rindoni, is given a 1.434 second pit stop. Batzinger is about to lose another place. In fact, as he comes up towards the line, Marzio Moretti looking for a way past him. So, trying to keep one eye on the race, one eye on all the penalties, because if we get to numbers 61 and 83, they're going to be significant, as there the field wriggles through with Batzinger being forced out wide. So, Marzio Moretti recovering after his spin, getting up the order. 51, that is now Dan Wells. That car falling back, number 70, Gerhard Batzinger. Through on the inside goes Dan Wells, picks up another place. That's going to give him now 11th place. Amaury Bonduel has picked up a 1 second penalty, 1.029. Lewis Williamson has picked up a 3/10 of a second penalty, 0.363. All of these messages quickly coming up on the timing screen. So the one we need is the leader, who gets a further 0.480 of a second. So 0.480 of a time penalty for Loris Spinelli to go to the 10 seconds that he's already got. He's 8.8 seconds clearing the lead. But the other one that's lurking in the system is the Iron Dames. 51, Dan Wells goes through, and the Iron Dames get a 1.7 second penalty for being short on the pit stop. 1.707 seconds for number 83. So there is the leader with 2 penalties to be applied, but the chasing car has got a penalty and the third place car has got a penalty. So Loris Spinelli, he got a 5 second penalty for track limit abuses in the American race. There are the Iron Dames, Michel Gatting in second place, but now 12 seconds back. It's a slow last lap and being caught by Amaury Bonduel. So Michel Gatting not matching the Doriane pin pace. And the way that Amaury Bonduel is going suggests that that gap might be coming down. It was 12.7 seconds at the start of the lap, and it was 14.1 a lap ago. So the margin was coming down, but whether that was a blip in terms of pace by Michel Gatting, we'll see. Another 4/10 pull back. Bonduel is hustling on, and he's taking Stefan Tribourini with him. So 9 minutes of the race still to go. And the race leaders currently working lap number 22 as the battle comes over the brow. Amaury Bonduel trying to fend off Stefan Tribourini. He's doing a decent fist of it, you've got to say, as they come then once again over the brow. So there, number 6 drops downhill. Stefan Tribourini running in 4th place, and off the road has gone number 2. So that means Pierre Feligioni behind the wheel of a experienced GT AM. He's had a moment in the Boutsen racing car, Thierry Boutsen's eponymous team, but that car recovers without too much time being lost. So there over the brow comes Stefan Tribourini down towards turn 15. as the race leaders go through. We've now got just 8 more minutes of the race remaining. So Max Wearing, the man that set the fastest lap in the first race on a drying road, watching Loris Spinelli do it in this race. Right round the outside there goes Stefan Tribodini. He puts a lap on Alfredo Hernandez Ortega, but he can't get past the other gold car, which is what he really needs to get past, that of Amaury Bonduel, and that will be for 3rd place. And while this scrap is going on, they're not really being able to close on Michel Gatting by as much as they want, although that said, it was 0.8 of a second pull back last time. It's just that your starting point is quite a big gap. Over the climb comes Bonduel, who has lost time in the first sector of this lap. So now that he's having to defend, and of course there was the traffic as well, so that margin has increased between 2nd and 3rd. And his penalty, when it comes, remember, is going to be a second, whereas the Iron Dames 1.7 seconds. Race leader has gone by, as you look at Stefan Guerin ahead of Cyril Lima, and these two arguing over 19th place and 4th in the AMS. Stefan Guerin for the moment staying ahead as you look at the race leader. So Loris Spinelli, who has adopted his usual setting, which is flat out. Downhill drops Spinelli into turn 5, avoids the cut through, goes deep into the other style of the hairpin, which has to climb the other side of it. It's, if you like, the fullest, longest version of the Algarve circuit that is in use this weekend. And the European teams, with no data, having not raced here before, with the American teams, of course, having not raced here before. The world final competition tomorrow and Sunday is going to be really interesting indeed. Uphill, Downdale, climb 61. Loris Spinelli, 5 3/4 minutes on the clock then as he drops down the hill again into turn into turn 12, getting ahead of myself. But he's got more back markers up the road. Michel Gatting continuing to hang on to that 2nd place. Amaury Bonduel in 3rd, with Tribodini 4th. Milan Petelet now leading in Pro-Am. So Milan Petelet has got the Target racing car up into 5th, and Emmanuel Colombini down in 6th spot. Over the timing line goes Loris Spinelli, another lap in the book, and the advantage now that he has got over Michel Gatting, well, last time was up to 16 seconds, and still Michel Gatting for Iron Dames has not come across the timing line. It's imminent, she's just done so as I say that, and the gap is now 18 seconds. Now, all right, take 10 of that off because of the penalty that's going to go the way of number 61 for causing a collision, but it's still a healthy advantage. This is for 3rd. Amaury Bonduel goes through ahead of Stefan Tribodini, who's on his toes and looks for the inside line. Can't find a way through. And then you've got Milan Petelet next up as they drop once more down now into turn 1. So Amaury Bonduel turns through the exit of turn 4, where the road drops, then it climbs, and there's an awful lot of that at this circuit with the rise and fall. The circuit feels like it's in the middle of nowhere, deep in the countryside, but it's good undulating countryside, and the circuit with a real mix of fast bits, tight bits, technical bits. Amaury Bonduel makes a small mistake under braking for the hairpin, climbs the hill now. Of course, in the COVID times, the Portuguese Grand Prix came here, and was a very popular circuit with the drivers. Somewhere new, somewhere fresh. So Bonduel, you can see the way the car is moving, just starting to feel the pressure a little bit. It's not easy having Stefan Tribodini crawling all over the back of him. They've got the side mirrors, of course, on the cars, but nothing inside the car because there would be little use, because you can't see out of the back. What they do have instead is a camera, and therefore a video screen acting as the mirror. Number 13 Stefan Guerin has just picked up a 5-second penalty for abusing track limits. So again, the timekeepers are going to have to wade through all of these penalties, which will be applied once we get to the end of this final round of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. Amaury Bonduelle comes across the line. We've probably got time for 2 more laps. The one they're on and 1 more. So through goes Bonduelle, hanging on to that 3rd place, but not now being able to make progress against Michel Gatting. At the moment, it is pros in the top 3. And there is the outright leader, Loris Spinelli, making this look easy, even allowing for that penalty for Max Wearing, who was a little bit grumpy about it, but failing to understand which the incident was when we saw it. It was the contact with Stéphane Lemeray, but of course, he will have gone past, not necessarily known what happened to Lemeray. Comes then, does Loris Spinelli on the tail of the back marker there, which is Raffaele Giannoni, who's been a regular in the AM class over the years, but hasn't had the pace this season, which is surprising. Raffaele Giannoni, who is normally, to be fair, with his shades on, uber cool, but not as quick as he needs to be to match the Lewandowski pace, where they are no longer 1 and 2, they're 1 and 4 in the class on the road. So, on to the last lap, possibly goes Loris Spinelli. I say possibly because the timing line, being as you come just out of the last corner, was completed. I reckon he might just, by a couple of 3 seconds, get another lap out of this. Depends how gentle the last lap pace is. Michel Gatting there in 2nd place, goes over the line. Gosh, 23 seconds behind now. We thought Doriane Pin was quick, but Loris Spinelli, who was in the car sooner, was instantly faster than Doriane Pin and was able, therefore, to bring down that gap. Through the traffic goes Michel Gatting, gets past Kumar Prabhakaran. This is still going to be the best result for the Iron Dames, for any female racer within Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. Ashlyn Harrison has been a successful racer in the American series, but it's going to be a great result for Michel Gatting and for Doriane Pin. Even if it's not a win, 2nd place against Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing as this year's champions ain't bad at all. So there is Loris Spinelli. The clock has half a minute. He could afford to back right off here because he's so far ahead, even with the penalty applied, but that is not really Loris Spinelli's style. So the Garden Lux car, 22 seconds on the clock, comes now into turn 14, drops down the hill, and yes, I think he's going to squeeze 1 more lap out of this. The Bonaldi team, you could argue, should be on the radio saying slow, 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 but that ain't for happening because Spinelli is about to make the climb up towards the line and he's going to be close, very close, and the flag didn't go out, but he did get through just after the clock had hit 0, so it was close, but I reckon that Spinelli has completed the hour. The checkered flag did not go out, but as I say, it was very, very close indeed, but he was just the right side, so this lap isn't going to count. The flag is out, the race is over, and here comes now Michel Gatting for 2nd place. Still no flag. And now the flag is being shown, as it should have been. So there, Amaury Bonduelle comes through to take the checkered flag. He finishes 3rd. And Stéphane Tribaudigny for 4th place, just 0.6 of a second behind. A drama for Milan Pétile. Now, that car was leading in Pro-Am. Not anymore, because Pétile's had a big, big lose. And so now Carole Bache takes over the lead of Pro-Am from Edoardo Liberati. And it won't start. Pétile trying to get the car fired up. He does now. Gets it off the racetrack. So there is the car that wins Pro-Am. Carole Bache and Brunette Formanek, who were leading, but for a spin on the last couple of laps in race 1. This time, if you like, it's the correct outcome. There's another car stranded right at the very end there. Was that Gabriel Rindoni, possibly, who has not made it to the end? Right, so Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing win from Michel Gatting and Doriane Pin, and then in 3rd place, Stéphane Tribaudigny and Jean-Luc Darrieux because they benefit from Amaury Bonduel's penalty. In Pro-Am, Karol Bash and Bronek Formanek win from Eduardo Liberati and Martin Riba. And then, no, change that, because they get a penalty and they fall away. So second, Lewis Williamson and Massimo Ciglia, and third, Dan Wells and Oscar Lee. In Am, Andrei Lewandowski wins it from Gabriel Rindoni provisionally, and Adrian Lewandowski. And then in the Lamborghini Cup, it's the Semolans from Gerard van der Horst, from Hans Fabry. Same top three that we had in race 1. So it wasn't Gabriel Rindoni's car that ground to a halt, but was certainly one that I've seen in the background. However, Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing add to the championship success with another race win from the third row. That is 9 wins out of 12 races. Begs the question, what went wrong? So than the others. Great drive by Loris Spinelli. And there in the pit lane, having got the message about the race being over, is Michel Gatting. Getting out of the car after a good drive. And Stefan Tribonini and Jean-Luc Daria through for third position. There you have the Am winner, Andrzej Lewandowski. And having just talked about Pro-Am, it's changed again, because now Dan Wells has been given a 5-second penalty for causing a collision. So Bash Formanek win it from Williamson and Ciglia, but Liberati and Riba, who was second on the road, finished third. Well, some of the penalties, all of the penalties apply. There might be more lurking in the system, but an element of confusion. But a result has at least now pretty much been declared. So it is yet again Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing that take the win, and 9th of the year for them. Very happy Bronek Formanek with Karol Bash celebrating a win, and Polish driver putting his helmet back on for the photographs. Bronek Formanek, the Czech driver, celebrates, and then Karol Bash takes off the helmet, the hands device, balaclava, earplugs out, water on board, and the very rapid Polish driver. We need to see more of him, really, in a high-profile GT championship, not Super Trofeo necessarily, but Italian GT, which is what he's raced in as well. Doesn't perhaps have quite the same profile as Fanatec GT, and it would be good to see more of him in that. So the drivers now making their way partly to interviews and then to the podium. Karol Bash nearest to us, with the pursuit Bronek Formanek standing alongside him. Karol doing another excellent job and benefiting to an extent from Milan Petelet's spin, but even so, his speed was going to be good enough to bring him into the mix come what may. So now the podium being made ready. The Vice President of Motorsport, Maurizio Reggiani, making his way in front of the podium, you can see there. And we will, in a moment, hopefully be able to hear from a number of our class winners. But for Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing, that throws down a marker, doesn't it, for the World Final. Yet another win. Right, great drive by all of those class-winning teams. Let's start to hear from some of them. Let's go to Marietta.
Andrew, I think if my maths are correct, you are now the champion in Super Trofeo Europe.
Yes, I'm very happy that I repeat the first champion of the AM class, and I'm very happy, you know. But it's not easy, you know, because some driver is very fast, and I have to be careful. And I'm happy, you know.
And your son is also racing here, so you have plenty of advice to give to him.
Yes, I start to learn him, and he learned very quickly, and we will see in the next season.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Andrei Lewandowski, I reckon, had done it in the first race, but only by a point. That sort of pushes it completely out of reach. It secures it for Andrzej Lewandowski. Gabriel Rindoni having dropped too far back in that earlier race. So there's one more race on this Friday of World Finals weekend still to go. It's, as you like, Championship Friday and World Final weekend, but the North American drivers have got their final race to come. They're the Pro-Am winning team, the Michelin Motorsport squad, celebrating. And Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli take, Marietta, win number 9.
Loris, after all the difficulties today, how do you feel about this victory?
I mean, difficult, yes, just because I'm driving a lot. But I mean, to talk about European Championship, yeah, this morning we got the wrong shoes to start with the slick. Honestly, it's not a track that we know very well, so the asphalt it's really different. I expect to have more time dry, but it's fine. We have the possibility to risk a bit. Nothing about today. The car was mega. We did a really great stint about the pace. Max had an amazing start. So as always, we are fast and we try to win.
Thank you. Max, how does it feel for you to close the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe with the title and the victory in the last race?
It felt great. Lars did an amazing job again. I only had to start the race, and yeah, he finished it up amazing. Even we had a penalty, and he was over the 10 seconds from P2. So that was amazing, and he did an amazing job, and we are really, really happy. We won 9 out of the 12 races, and I'm really thankful for him and the team. The car was great, and I'm really happy. Thank you.
Impressive. Well done, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Different team for Max Wearing this year. It was the Johan Kral team last year, and going to Bonaldi for this season. It's been a good choice because the title has gone with that move. So well done to Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli. Drivers then to make their way to the podium shortly. Confirmation of the way they provisionally stand, because we've got no doubt 1 or 2 discussions still to have. Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli winning from Doriane Pin and Michel Gatting, Jean-Luc Daria and Stéphane Tribaudigny in 3rd, ahead of Anne-Marie Vonduel. 5th, Carole Bache and Bronek Formanek, who win in Pro-Am. 2nd Pro-Am, the champions, Lewis Williamson and Massimo Ciglia, with 3rd, Martin Rieber and Edoardo Liberati. Andrzej Lewandowski, the winning Am from, in the end, Gabriel Rindoni, and then Adrian Lewandowski and Benoit and Francois Semoulin win in Lamborghini Cup from Gerard van der Horst and Hans Fabry. So great racing we've had from Super Trofeo Europe all season, and although 9 wins suggest that Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli have been rather dominant, well, that's not to suggest that it's been a boring season, because there's been a lot of really, really good racing all the way through each of the 12 races. And with the entry growing, we had, for example, in Barcelona, Daniel Karlovitz and Leonette Marionette coming to have a look from the ADAC GT Championship, and they got 2 podiums. If they come back next year, they'll be well worth watching. We've got the CMR team also here this weekend having a look. So new teams, new drivers, all thinking about next year, and the championship looking to go from strength to strength. Their replay of a good dive through the traffic by the Oregon car of Lewis Williamson. Got some very impressive super slow-mos, just illustrating what a Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2 is like around this Algarve circuit. So, as the teams congregate in the pit lane, drivers congregate at the podium. Very shortly, the ceremony can get underway. Rather stony-faced Doriane Pin and Michel Gatting. It's a race perhaps they felt they could, maybe should have won.
But I don't think they're prepared.
No, we don't have new. They don't change anything.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
He almost smiles of resignation, but for second place, I tell you, it's a mighty result. There'll be lots of people that will be elated to be second, but the high standards that they've set, not looking very happy. And for a maiden weekend in Super Trofeo, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the World Final over the next 2 days. One race tomorrow, one race on Sunday, and the points scored will determine the winners across the classes. So there, the crash helmet aboard the Iron Dames car. As Michel Gatting's crash hat sits, and the driver looks down from the podium, and will be on the second step of the pro podium in a few moments' time. So I think we've just about got who we need. Drivers now getting their overalls on, ready to head to the steps. There's Stéphane Tribaudigny for third place. So the drivers are going to be called forward. Pirelli winner's hat comes a-flying. And so we should be starting with the pro class. And so Stéphane Tribaudigny and Amaury Bonduelle has been given third place, but shouldn't be there because he got a penalty. So Stéphane Tribaudigny and Jean-Luc Darrieux are third. Michel Gatting and Doriane Pin are second. And now Loris Spinelli and Max Weering go for the top step of the podium. For the Bonaldi Motorsport team then, the Italian national anthem. Now, there's going to be an element of confusion, I rather fear, here with trophies. Because, as I say, Amaury Bonduelle was third over the line, but then got a penalty, remember, which dropped him behind Stéphane Tribaudigny and Jean-Luc Darrieux, and that's somehow not been spotted. So, this might take a bit of unravelling. Maurizio Reggiani gives the trophy, and then to the Iron Dames, but that third place trophy needs to go to Tribaudigny and Darrieux. Max Weering says he doesn't understand. The winner's trophy is the easy bit. It's Amaury Bonduelle that's rather confused life. The Pirelli trophy is easy, that goes to the winners.
E então, os pilotos podem brindar com champanhe.
So now everybody gets together. Max Weering jollying the troops along for the group photograph of the top four. You don't often get on a podium, but that's what we've got. Now look towards the cameras. Stéphane Tribaudigny confused but happy. So he's ended up with the second place trophy that he shouldn't. Amaury Bonduelle's got a trophy that he shouldn't. The plot thickens. Anyway, the result is Weering and Spinelli win. Michel Gatting, Doriane Pin second. Stéphane Tribaudigny and Jean-Luc Darrieux third. And Amaury Bonduelle fourth, with the penalties applied. But somehow has got onto the podium. Right, bottles clinked. And the podium will be made ready for the Pro-Ams, which hopefully will be a bit simpler. But Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing win again. That's a 9th race win to go with the championship. An excellent season it has been for Lamborghini Milano and Bonaldi Motorsport as the winning entrants and the winning team. A great season for the champions. So now the Pro-Am drivers being made ready. And hopefully this will be the correct order with the penalties, where third should be Eduardo Liberati and Martin Riba. And it should be for second place, Lewis Williamson and Massimo Ciglia. And then for the win, Bronek Formanek and Karol Bash. There are the third place drivers, Eduardo Liberati and Martin Riba. Martin, who was new to Super Trofeo at Barcelona. Eduardo Liberati, very experienced driver, races for KCMG in Porsches, as well as now leading light at Super Trofeo. For that second place, Lewis Williamson and Massimo Ciglia, the champions, and Karol Bash and Bronek Formanek are on the top step. So congratulations to Karol Bash and Bronek Formanek. And there the trophies being presented to the third placed crew. First of all, to the Brutal Fish racing team, the Slovakian squad of Slovak Martin Riba and Italian Eduardo Liberati. Then for second place to Oregon teams, Massimo Ciglia, Lewis Williamson, and then to the victors, to Karol Bash and to Bronek Formanek. Handshakes all round. Champagne already, just as we saw in the first race. Bronek Formanek cannot wait, loves this champagne spray. Martin Riba sorts him out. That's the Slovakian driver. I think it probably comes off worse. Martin Riba gets it all in his eyes, but the celebrations at the end of the European season in Pro-Am are well underway. The squad, of course, photographers trying to get everybody back on the podium for the group photograph. So Bronek Formanek and Karol Bash win in Pro-Am from Massimo Ciglia and Lewis Williamson, this year's champions, and Martin Riba and Eduardo Liberati take third. So great job done by the ACCR Michnek Motorsport team. Bronek Formanek switching to driving with Karol Bash rather than Josef Zaruba for this year, and it's been a good choice coming out then with the class win today, and the pair of them, well, at least Bronek Formanek, I should say, finishing third in the championship because he hasn't done the whole season with Karol Bash. It was a switch after the first couple of events. Massimo Ciglia and Lewis Williamson, the champions then, from Oscar Lee and Dan Wells, with Bronek Formanek taking third. Next up is the AM podium. Lewandowski Jr., Adrian, takes third. Second, Gabriel Rindoni. And Dad for top step. Andrzej Lewandowski is the winner of the AMs, and he's also the AM champion. For Andrzej Lewandowski then, the national anthem Class winner, class champion, yet again, yet another line to go to the impressive CV that he has, as Adrian Lewandowski holds aloft his third place trophy. The Luxembourg driver Gabriel Rindoni takes second, and there the trophy for Andrzej Lewandowski, yet again a victor in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. He will also receive the Pirelli trophy.
Os pilotos podem brindar com champanhe agora.
Everybody together for the photographs. It's going to be really interesting to see how Adrian Lewandowski goes over the next few seasons if he stays with Super Trofeo, because clearly, after limited racing this year, he has got ability. Very limited experience, but has adapted well to these cars and straight away offering up good pace. Came into the series at Barcelona and has gone nicely. So Andrzej Lewandowski it is that takes the win. And another great season that has now netted 5 victories for Andrzej Lewandowski, as well as the AM Championship title. His runner-up, Gabriel Rindoni, and Stefan Guerin taking third, ahead of Claude-Yves Gosselin, then Marc Rostin, ahead of Jürgen Krebs, Elie Dubelli and Pierre Feligioni next. Raffaele Giannoni's part season putting him ahead of Louis Wagner. So there the cars sit, with just the Lamborghini Cup podium to run. And there are the drivers, with for third place Hans Fabry, for second place Gerard van der Horst, and for the top step of the podium Benoit and Francois Semelin. It's almost a mirror image of what we had in the first race. Same drivers, same order, and very happy Semelins taking honours. Congratulations to Benoit and to Francois Semelin, who therefore round out the season with a 4th win in Lamborghini Cup. And Maurizio Reggiani steps forward to congratulate Hans Fabry. He takes the trophy as the race winner. Then for second place, Gerard van der Horst, who has been a stalwart driver. A large accident at Barcelona last year for Gerard van der Horst, but he's come back undaunted and takes the championship this year. But the Semelins have been a real force to be reckoned with and round out the year with a win. They get together for photographs and the Pirelli trophy given to Benoit and Francois Semelin as well, from Stefano Bernardi, the head of technical operations at Pirelli. Gerard van der Horst, the real estate developer. Hans Fabry on the other end of the podium, joined in for the photographs and their confirmation of that result. La Famille Semelin victorious from Gerard van der Horst, and then Hans Fabry in third. And as it's the end of the day, Hans Fabry feels that champagne is a must. So the gentlemen drivers in the Lamborghini Cup, where the competition is no less fierce than anywhere else, round out their day. They can now go and enjoy Lamborghini's fantastic hospitality, and then prepare themselves for qualifying for the World Finals tomorrow morning. So it is a race win and a championship win for Loris Spinelli and Max Weering. It is a race win in the Lamborghini Cup class for Benoit and Francois Semelin, but it's a championship win for Gerard van der Horst, ahead of Luciano Privitello. Hans Fabry third, ahead of the Semelins. Donovan Privitello taking 5th, ahead of Francois Grimm, then Daniel Waschinsky and Alfredo Hernandez Ortega in his first season in the championship. So that completes the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe season. Racing not yet done today. We've got the final North American Championship race to come. Those drivers will be heading onto the circuit to race in about an hour's time. And then tomorrow from 2:45, the first world final race with qualifying in the morning. But at the end of the Super Trofeo Europe season, for now from Portimao, it's goodbye.